July 2025, two superhero movies released in the same month. Superman 2025, directed by James Gunn, and Fantastic Four First Steps, directed by Matt Shakman. And I, being a fan of comic books, saw both in theaters and rewatching them various times. Now that the hype has died down a bit, I've decided to review them both on this channel and then determine which one I enjoyed more. Just ignore that Rush Superman video I did about a month ago. And to refresh my memory, I recently saw them both in theaters again on the same day, back to back. Also, as a rule for this review, I will not compare them to any movie that came out before, which means no Fantastic or Snyderverse trashing. There's plenty of other channels if you want to see that kind of thing. Also, comparisons will be made to the comics, being that as much as the bigwigs don't want you to care about them, they are literally the source material which is being pulled from to make these movies. Since Superman released first, I'm going to review it first. The movie's still good. I was really scared that seeing it the second time in the theater wouldn't have the same impact like my experience with Deadpool, Wolverine, and Spider-Man Far From Home. But when I left the theaters for the first time, I knew I wasn't going to have that same rewatch effect, and when I saw it again a week later with my buddy Kieran, my suspicions were correct. I've given the film a little bit of a hard timeline, especially the aspect I'll get to in a bit. For the most time, it's still a pretty solid experience. Well, the plot was nothing really special, it was heavily carried by characters, which is all I can ask for like anything ever at this point. I just love how from the get-go we're thrown into this new and different world where metahumans and aliens have been publicly known and existed for ages, which makes this world essentially feel like a portal which you can't fully travel through but simply watch and enjoy the action. Anyways, I also kinda love that we skipped the planet explosion origin because everyone in the melon knows it and we just simply dropped into a Superman story. Anyways, onto the characters. It's been said a million times, but David Cornswet is actually perfect as Superman. The way he acts and talks feels very authentic, genuine, and true to the character of Superman, but he doesn't feel as much like a boring Boy Scout. Unlike some other people who try too hard to overcorrect the perception of Superman and give him an actual personality, give him to express a decent variety of emotions such as anger, stress, and even annoyment. Another vital aspect of his characterization I really enjoyed is how much he valued life. Like in particular, the scene where he saved that squirrel really did a lot for me. I know Tesla audiences didn't like it and almost led to the scene being cut, fucking idiots. But James Gunn frankly came to his senses and put it back in, which I will forever be grateful for. I also love that he treated the robots in the Fortress of Solitude like they're actual people, despite being like actual robots. And even how he tries to talk to some sense to Ultraman the engineer, despite the two trying to actually fucking kill him, And the supporting cast is great as well. I honestly couldn't get enough of the Daily Planet crew, with Lois Lane being the obvious standout. Rachel Brosnahan did a great performance as Lois, with the attitude to come to expect from the character and more. I was initially a bit weirded out with the decision to make her already know that Clark was Superman and being in a committed relationship with each other, but as the movie went on, I began to see the vision. The interview in particular was really began to click with me. James got to push for it to be longer talking scene, and by God was it worth it. It showed that Lois wasn't gonna take shit from Clark and constantly baby him or mindlessly support and reaffirm his views to him. She's gonna interview him like anyone else, calling him out and criticizing him for his mistakes. At every point, Clark had Lois at a counter, and the scene in general would really well in setting up the conflict that Clark and Lois would have for the film. The rest of the Daily Planet cast were great, and I really wish we had more time to see him, with Jimmy also being a sort of reluctant Riz god. I mean, Jimmy was an important part of Lois' investigation by being in contact with Lex's quote-unquote girlfriend, Eve, who by the way was also a highlight. Having her selfies contain classified information which proved that she wasn't just a dumbass and someone Lex definitely underestimated. I hope the rumored spin-off show ends up being made because as I keep saying, I really want to keep seeing more of these characters. But I'm disappointed the spin-off has Darkseid's first appearance, because if you know, I know. It was nice seeing the other members of the Daily Planet crew, weren't just Clark, Lois, and Jimmy in the film as well, with Steve Lombard obviously being a standout. I do wish that Perry White got to say Caesar's ghost though, not an actual criticism, however, just a me thing. Also, the other heroes were great. Nathan Fillion was a great Guy Gardner, bringing that joke of heart of God energy the character is well known for. I remember that people online, especially JLI fans, were scared that Guy was going to be boiled down to a haircut joke, but in the end were pretty much won over. Guy was funny and abrasive, but in the movie he helped out the John pouring into the conflict while still being his usual jackass self. Also like Isabella Mercedes as Hawkgirl, who some Transformers fans might recall was that little girl from the last night. While she didn't really get too much in the movie, she still did pretty well, although I found her screaming like a hawk to be a bit weird. Didn't ruin her for me though, but the fact that she basically killed Nathaniel was a bonus for me. Anthony Corrigan's Metamorpho was also a standout for me. I've always been fascinated by Metamorpho as a character, I even have his leg and mean figure to prove it, and I argue it was the best representation of how Superman was able to inspire others like him to do good. Because when we first see him, he's being forced to turn his arm to kryptonite by Lex Luthor, who's basically holding his son Joey hostage. But after Lex basically executed that one guy, helped Superman up that one time when he was knocked down, Rex basically decided to help Clark by making a mini substitute for solar energy, which in turn promised to help baby Joey and result everything worked out in the end. And the last supporting character I'm going to gush about is Eddie Ganfigi as Mr. Terrific. As a big fan of the character, I don't have the negative figure to prove it this time, I'm so sorry. Seeing him absolutely wreck those gods with his T-spears like dopamine being injected into my veins, and he was smart as well, really smart. Also really liked his annoyance of everyone else around him being a complete dumbass for him, but really did me to his character, and I really want to see more of him in the future. Also, no joke, but as soon as I first saw the movie with my dad and brother, when I got back home, I purchased his Fortnite skin, like immediately. So I guess I did have something to prove after all. Now that leads to the villains, and man, Nicholas Holder's Lex Luthor was really damn good. He stole the show in every scene he was in, with jealousy, bitterness, and painedness of characters usually known for at the forefront. I feel like this fighting scene was when Superman was being held in the Pocket Universe. He brought in that one guy from earlier who helped Kyle out from the ground area as a captive. He played Russian roulette with him, which unfortunately did not end well for poor Malik. What's Lex's reaction to this? I thought I'd last longer. Absolutely disgusting human being, and I love it. He's also trying to be smart as well, with his Pocket Universe being one example, and in memorizing all Superman moves to Ultraman, who can counter him being another one. Which leads me to the other point, the side villains are kinda lame. Ultraman was okay, I guess, with a sick design and potential to return as a truly bizarre character in future installments, but my little nitpick is I really wanted him to have cracked skin under the suit. The engineer was also kind of disappointing. As I said in the last video, I don't really care for anything related to the Authority or Wildstorm, so James got a really good opportunity to make me care for the engineer. It just didn't happen. I can see why it wasn't the case with the movie already having London as it is, but if Gunn really wants to have a cool side villain who can interact with technology, then why didn't he use Metamorpho, Metallo, who, like, another villain who essentially gave up his humanity. But also, I looked into the engineer's comic backstory, and I've learned that she was a fan of comics as a kid, and she used intelligence and skills to make her nanites based on notes from a previous engineer, which I find awesome and wish I made its way into the film. I love how a movie starts halfway through something important that we don't see beforehand to really grab our attention, with Superman basically crashing into the Arctic or something after fighting the hammer of Bravia in Metropolis and getting his ass kicked. Kinda reminded me of Mobile Suit Gundam Charles Counterattack, but I started in the middle of something important as well. Sure, not knowing the full context is sort of annoying, but the film explains the gaps really well enough. True 17, likened to the experience of picking up a random comic where you place in the middle of an event, you don't know what's going on. As someone who usually buys from trade paperbacks, I can actually see where you're coming from. I also like the Thriller War subplot. The movie didn't try to half-ass both sides of emotions, and instead will show that Israel stands as clearly evil. I don't think enough credit goes to Zlatko Burick as Vassal Ghost. He truly portrays him as a disgusting wretched man who'll make you despise him, and cheer when Hulko drops him into the pavement. I also like that James Gunn made Bravia from an early Superman comic, and also drew inspiration from other real invasions. People in Israel still got really angry when that happened. Get fucked, the Mao. Now for the hotly contested part of the film, something I like to call the Krypton twist. So 23 minutes into the movie, Lex and his friends make their way into the Fortress of Solitude in hopes of finding someone that will tarnish Clark's legacy. Early into the film, it's established that when Krypton grew up, baby Kal-El was sent to offer a message recorded by his parents to do good, but Alpha was damaged somehow. So the engineer repairs the yellow half, and Jor basically says, "We sent you to fuck bitches and rule the world." And that's where the real controversy started. I've seen people hotly debate this decision, with some liking and others disliking it, and I land the latter, to be honest. Well, I can sort of see the narrative to the twist like, my father's not who I thought I was. It completely fucks up the immigrant allegory that is hard-baked in Superman's character. Superman was created by two Jewish immigrants who baked a lot of their religion into the character, with him basically being Moses' metaphor, his secret identity being a metaphor for Jewish immigrants getting their name changed to avoid anti-Semitism, and Superman basically being a wish fulfillment where he'd be the champion of oppressed, and to see all that being discarded for a sort of burn-like twist is kind of grating, not gonna lie. For those who don't know, when John Byrne wrote Superman in the 80s, he basically was anti-immigration, despite being British-born comic writer, and this view basically can be found in that story, from what I've heard. Krypton was reimagined as a cold and distant planet. All this was done to prop up Earth, especially America, to bring Clark back to his World War II propaganda roots. But as I said before, I haven't fully read the Byrne run yet. I'm just going by word of mouth from mutuals on Twitter, but my point still stands. All that was done to push I might be alien, but not if I'm a real human or something. That just leads to the other hotly contested part of not just the movie, but Superman fiction as well. The Kens. So, the people that raised Superman, some prefer him dead, others prefer him alive. I used to be pro-alive, but over time people really convinced me to turn to the latter, with the death being the thing which turns Clark from Superboy to Superman. Also, I've been fans of the dead side a lot, because I don't like seeing Aunt May alive in Spider-Man comics, so yeah. My personal preference is Mark being alive is a compromise and Pa dying of a heart attack, which shows Superman can't save everyone, no matter how hard he tries. Anyways, as for the Kents in the movie, they're alright, nothing too crazy, but the actors play the parts well, nothing more for me to say, to be honest. Anyways, back to the twist. Throughout the movie, I was hoping the message would be turned out to be mistranslated, but when Mr. Terrific said it was real, my heart actually sank and almost kind of ruined the film for me. However, there is a chance that not all of Krypton was like that, because at the end of the movie, Supergirl returns to the Fortress of Solitude, and she didn't really seem like a power-hungry lunatic, so maybe it was just the elves were like that, or the message was tampered with, or something. You know, there's 50-50 chance of it would walk back on. So overall, I saw having twists that almost ruined the film for me. Superman showed a lot of redeeming qualities for me, which hit really hard. I post a full movie ranking in the video. Now, on to Fantastic Four, first steps. After years of the studios trying to make the Fantastic Four work, yeah, this doesn't count as a comparison, shut up, I can confidently say that yeah, we got there. Finally the film showed off everything great about the team. One thing to note is that this movie felt like the greatest hits of the Fantastic Four stories, with characterizations and plot beats being pulled from the comics. One of the more direct ones, where the story comes from, was the Galactus trilogy by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. I also love the aesthetic of Earth 828. The retrofuturism hit me in all the right areas, and I would love a new MCU in that same world, given I am a sucker for period pieces. In fact, the list named after Jack Kirby's birthday was really touching. In fact, the whole movie kind of felt like a love letter to the King of Comics. I loved each member of the Four and their roles. I was initially hesitant with Pedro Pascal upon hearing that announcement. I wasn't against it, but within 5 minutes I went, dude, he's an actor, give him a chance to prove himself. And prove himself he did. He kicks ass as Mr. Fantastic. Well, I haven't read everything yet. From what I've heard, he took a lot of inspiration from Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four runs in terms of his characterization. Also love how guilty he felt, like having affected his friends' lives forever by listening to his ego for the rocket launch, which was the origin of the team. Overall, his intelligence was displayed. I know some people didn't like that he didn't stretch enough, I know I did as well, but then it clicked to me that his intelligence was his real power. So seeing that all on display was really nice to see. Also, as an autistic person, it was really nice seeing Reed's autistic traits carried over to the movie as well. One scene which stood out to me was Reed talking to Baby Franklin about how fathers want their child to be like them, but he didn't want that for him, which really captured the character's warmth and kindness in a way which really touched me. And Vanessa Kirby was also great as Sue Storm. I've seen some people come to the conclusion that Sue was basically the main character of the movie, with her basically driving the plot as well as having the most stakes in the film, and her basically being the one to the heavy lifting against Galactus. I could also say she was a heart of the team, especially that speech she made to the mob in that scene. I would not give up my son for the world. I will not give this world up for my son. Peak fiction. Also, side note, but usually a thing Fantastic Four adaptations do is essentially make Franklin Storm a scientist, like the ultimate version of his character. Which may make sense on the surface level, but it completely screws up Sue's whole thing of having to take care of Johnny all on her own, which lays the seeds for her to place in the Fantastic Four as a team. So having that 8-8 Franklin Storm had his 616 origin was kind of refreshing in a way. And that leads me to her brother, Johnny Storm, aka the Human Torch. I'm not gonna lie, I was also hesitant with the Joseph Quinn casting, but he definitely proved himself. He gives a balance right that most people come to expect from Johnny. Being a hothead will jump into action the first opportunity, but also has a deafness overlooked, which is mostly shown of his arc in the film. He basically translated a bunch of alien messages and figured out the Silver Surfer's origin when it was given, which in turn basically helped the Fourth win the day. However, he didn't say them on once, which like Perry's catchphrase and something that ruined it for me, but it was still kind of a minor annoyance. And last but not least, Ben Grimm, The Thing. A common criticism in the film was that Benji didn't really have much to do in the film, and that I can agree with. His part was still played well. Evan Moss Barrick did a good job, but I would love to see him with him. The CGI was also really good in him. He looked so good, I don't know what else to say here. My favourite scene with him was when he lifted the car from the Yancey Street Kids. I just want to see a bit more of that in the movie as well. Also, for the entire movie, I found it a bit off-putting. They didn't like saying his catchphrase, and I was putting up to the vet where he accepts it, but for me, that scene didn't really have the weight it deserved, probably due to Ben's lack of screen time. However, I did like that this version of Ben was clearly Jewish. After all, Yancey Street was based in Delancey Street, which is the Lower East Side in New York, which is typically home to immigrants of the working class. So seeing how in the movie that was cool, as well as the scene where Ben went to what I presume was a synagogue. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, after all, I am a cracker from the burbs. He went there to meet up with someone he met early in the film, Rachel Rosman, an original character creator from the movie. I know she was just a tribute to Jack Kirby's wife, was Kirby, and that was really touching, but I do kind of wish it was Alicia Masters instead. Just kind of a me thing, that's all. Now again, let's leave the villains in the movie. It was nice to see classic Fantastic Four villains get name dropped. Would have loved to see them in person, like Diablo and the Wizard in particular, but that's just kind of me being greedy, to be honest. I really wish John Malkovich wasn't cut as the Red Ghost and we got to see more of the Super Apes, because they're such a goofy concept and those ran back to being awesome. The best we got was Rick kicking Pietro off a building or something. Overall, I really liked seeing Moleman get a turn in the spotlight. He was the Fantastic Four's first villain, and the fact he had a pretty integral role in the movie, you know, helping the New Yorkers evacuate to Subterranean was nice. Initially, I wanted him to be portrayed by Danny DeVito. I'm not much of a fan caster, but I think it would be perfect. But like on said, was pretty good as well. Paul Waterhouse played the part pretty well for the short amount of time he was in the film. Seeing Keanu Reeves' nerf was fun to see, and also I thought it was cool the way Sue basically did a peace treaty with Subterranean, which suddenly put the surface and the underground world on reasonable terms. Julia Garland was also named the Silver Surfer. I know some people didn't like the choice of making her Charlotte Babel, previous people familiar with Ron Rad like my friend Kieran, but I felt like it was a neat idea. It really solved the whole alternate universe thing for me. It also felt right that she basically did the big sacrifice at the end because it was what the movie was building up to, like a sort of redemption and Johnny convincing her, much like how Alicia Masters did that with Nora in the original comic. And now for the literally big event, Galactus. I'm not judging when I say that this depiction was everything I ever wanted as a kid. Get the space cloud shit out of here. Ralph Anderson's voice from really commanded presence, and the size, man, the size of that guy. really saw the David vs Goliath conflict of Fantastic Four to overcome. Also love seeing things in the film using practical costumes, which is crazy but also awesome to hear. Also love the touch on the Galactus' origin. It was basically a survivor of the previous Marvel universe, and it was basically cursed with his hunger, which is a key overlooked aspect of the character. Anyways, I've gone for this whole review without mentioning it, so fuck it, it's story time. The whole movie was basically good and character driven. It's basically that greatest hits compilation I mentioned earlier, while drawing inspiration from the Galactus trilogy. Also adapting Frank Rich's birth, but instead of going to the negative zone to battle Annihilus for Cosmic Control Run, which could save so you giving birth. Happens semi-normally, well, as normal as you can get when you're in a spaceship flying the Herald of Galactus who's chasing you in a fucking surfboard. Also felt very classic science fiction, with the needs of the many versus the needs of the few being driving conflict. After all, should Rinsu give up the baby for the fate of the world? And I love that they got both, and I was happy that universe didn't get destroyed in the movie. I was fearing it would happen because I have to go to the MCU and that kind of would suck. When Silver Surfer hit Galactus through the portal, I was this close to cheering at my first watch through. That's how this film felt to me, and I also say reading bits of the Kirby run really enhanced the experience for me. I won't consider it required reading, but it really helps make things better. Overall, it was a movie so good, like, completely forgot that Robert Downey Jr. would be playing the role of Doctor Doom. Well, also, something interesting to note was that both films had sort of similar problems, and that was with the editing. Both movies are kind of missing some stuff. In particular, Superman was missing the title cards for some scenes starting, and the Fantastic Four was missing a whole 20 to 30 minutes of extra stuff. I mean, yeah, that kind of sucks. So overall, which film did I prefer? Well, Superman had a more complete experience with a lot of stuff I liked. The Krypton twist sort of dragged the ranking down to 7.5. While Fantastic Four, I was smiling for the entire film and had a blast, so I'm giving it an 8, which in my eyes makes it better than Superman, but I still recommend both films if you want to watch them. Overall, I think this year has been pretty good for cake flips, with DC's got a reputation being completely eradicated and Marvel putting out some bangers and Brave New World. But these two films are definitely highlights for me. I liked them so much I saw them 3 times each. What did you all think? Which film did you prefer? What do you think of the Krypton twist? And do you hate the Robert Downey Jr. Doom casting? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for making this fun in the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, yada yada, and always, have a good day.